Hi, I'm Matt Gershner. I'm the head of strategy and revenue for Research Defender, a res tech startup that is tackling the problems that we have with the sample part of the research industry. Let me tell you about Research Defender. So Research Defender was born out of the move to programmatic sample in the research industry. So as times have changed and became much more self-serve, it was determined that the potential for fraud has gone up. And so therefore we've created a suite of tools that help clients take control over the quality themselves, as opposed to leaving it to those that they buy from. But before I start, I like to always mention that we are Switzerland. We are independent. We do not buy sample. We do not sell sample, and we do not provide data collection services. So we are truly an independent arbiter of quality when it comes to sample and respondents within the marketing research industry. So we have a place. And so we typically work on behalf of those people you see here in the box. We work on behalf of panel owners and sellers. We work on behalf of the exchanges, and we work on behalf of the platforms. We also work on behalf of research suppliers who tend to fall into one of those three categories, but we do not work on behalf of end clients. The end clients belong to the suppliers in the industry, the platform industry, to service. Our job is to work behind the scenes to make the supplier respondents that much more secure and that much more reliable. And so I like to start off by asking a question, a rhetorical question, of course. What does fraud and duplication cost you? What does it cost you in terms of data quality? What does it cost you in terms of manual labor? What does it cost you in terms of other efficiencies? And of course, how much money is wasted due to fraud and duplication in the sampling part of your business? And so to that end, we've built 5 products: search, activity, review, verify, and pre-dupe. Each of these products tackles a different need and can be used independently or in conjunction with the others. We've done some independent testing, and we have found that the best results are by layering our different products to provide the most secure version of the sampling. Let me start. So our search product is what you would consider true fraud prevention and detection. Okay? Using digital fingerprinting, we can detect bots. We also prevent duplicate respondents from entering a survey. And we do this by working with others, both inside and outside the marketing research space, to identify respondents that have a propensity or a likelihood of fraud. So this works across market research and use the same tools that are used in ad tech and retail and e-commerce. We're using some of the same tools that Amazon.com uses to identify fraudulent reviews for their products. And we do this using a digital fingerprint. It's proprietary. And for those of you that don't know what a fingerprint is, what we're going to do when a respondent comes and hits our system is we're going to understand what browser they're using and what version they're using. Everything about their machine, whether it's a mobile device or a desktop or a laptop, and how much memory it has and who's the manufacturer. We're going to use cookies. And I used to say that we're ready for the post-cookie world, but we have another couple years before cookies go away, as we just found out recently, and of course more. And by doing this, what we find out is that respondents are unique and prevent any sort of duplication. So we hear often that we do these things ourselves. And yes, most people do some of these. And we'll call that some of these stage 1. We're going to look at a cookie check. They're going to look at an IP address check, check a PID, or hashed email. We layer in stage 2. And so we're going to work with outside companies, buy in bulk in theory, and then provide these services to the marketing research industry. Some of these companies that we work with are called MaxMind, Fraud Labs, and DBIP. If you're not familiar with them, I have more information on the next slide. Then we layer in our technology for stage 3, where we can detect chain logic. We can detect simultaneous survey attempts. We can tell you if a click farm is trying to access one of your surveys. And of course, we can tell you when an algorithm is trying to take a survey for you. We've also recently added a tool that can detect subnets. And for anyone familiar with how IP addresses work, if you're familiar with 100.100.100.100, anytime someone comes in at .101 plus .102, .103, we're going to detect those subnets off of the original. I mentioned those third-party fraud prevention systems. There's a little bit more detail there. And you have Max-Minded Fraud Labs. They're similar in what they do is they provide scores based on the likelihood of fraud. DBIP is our main tool to verify IP addresses. It's all about geolocation. Is the respondent's machine where they say it is? All this together gives us a better picture of each respondent. If you are the platform, and whether it's Decipher or Alchemer or Qualtrics or Confirm, and really any platform, what our APIs return will look something like this. You're going to see scoring, and you see a threat potential score of 54, which would be considered high, and the respondent ID. So you can terminate them for quality purposes. On a survey, you give reasons and the number of the survey, everything that goes along with it. And we'll track them for later on. I like to say that we sell hammers, our clients get to swing them. And so we're going to give you scores, but we're not going to tell you what to do with them. We'll provide advice, of course. We'll provide guidance and best practices. But at the end of the day, we're going to return the scores back to your system. And you determine what to do with those respondents when you do. By the way, if anyone has a question, just put it into the chat box. I'll be happy to reply as I'm going along. Here, what I'd like to show is an example of what this looks like. And what you'll see here is data that we collected back in April on a project, all anonymous here. And you'll see that we're able to tell you fraud on an hour-by-hour basis and duplications as well. So in this chart, the duplicates are in the orange line and the fraud is in the blue line, and you'll see spikes. And these spikes tend to happen when another panel is brought into a project. And so you'll start to see, especially the duplicate spike, if you add another one in through a marketplace or through bringing another panel, we're going to see that. We're going to prevent that because we know that you don't want duplicates in your surveys. Or if you're providing this for a client, your client doesn't want the duplications. And of course, you'll see the fraud. Obviously happy to share raw data afterwards if anyone is interested. Going back to our next product is our activity product. Our activity product is tracking at the respondent level. We will see by the end of the year over 5 billion data calls to our network, to our system. And so through that, we're able to see a tremendous amount of traffic, and we can tell you how often we see an individual. So we'll see them through the entire research ecosystem, so we can flag who's a professional survey taker and who's not. Because we know that the person that you want to talk to for your survey or your client survey is on the left-hand side of this chart. We don't want professional survey takers. We know that they have satisficing behaviors that at the end of the day is going to ruin your data. They're going to like things more. They're going to say that they own more products. That's not healthy for your data, and we don't want you to have it. So we're going to help prevent these people from corrupting otherwise healthy data. Now, I wish I could say we made this up. The only thing I can say is that we shortened it. Is because this is an actual chart from an actual study. And you can see here that we can flag how many attempts someone has taken in any period of time, 12, 24, 36, 48 hours. And I'm sure you don't, and your clients don't, want someone who's attempted 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 or more surveys in a 24-hour period. What else are they doing with their life? How can they be a consumer if all they're doing is taking surveys? We can help you prevent professional respondents from corrupting your client's research. And I can show you some data on that. And we have this data here. And what you can see, as I pull it out bigger, it's fun to do live, is that in this data set, we have 80,000 rows. And what you can find in this data set is that people that we've seen more than 50 times, either by token or by IP, between 4.12, 5.8% of the data. Think about how 5% of your data, being a professional survey taker, would have impacted what you're trying to learn. To make it even clearer, I can find someone in here that has attempted 153 surveys in a 24-hour period. Each time they did, they cleared their cache. They deleted their cookies. I'm pretty sure you don't want that person in your survey. And if you're not using a tool like this, how are you keeping them out? Now, all hope is not lost, because here's someone that attempted 29 surveys. They clear their cache 24 times, so perhaps they clear their browser every time that they close it out. But you don't want the person that's done that 124 times clearing it every single time. Those people that you see with zeros, we haven't seen them, and boy, I bet they would be a great respondent for you. So this is the type of data that we provide to our clients, that they can make the decisions as to who they want in their survey. You want to cut it off at 100 in the last 24 hours? Great, that's 1.77 to 3.12, whichever variable you'd like to choose on. We can help you prevent professional respondents from ruining your data or your client's data. Okay, let's go back to our presentation. Next is our review tool. And our review tool is text analytics. Now, it's not text analytics to analyze your data to provide the report for you or your client. It's not telling you that the respondents like the blue circle over the red square, or this price over that price. That's not what ours does. Our text analytics is to score the veracity of the open-ended response. This is done in real time. And so what we're doing is we're analyzing the open-ended responses for proper grammar, length of the response, how long it took them to respond, whether or not they use profanity, and everyone knows I'm a New Yorker, so I don't have a problem with profanity. Did they bang on the keyboard and provide gibberish? We can tell you that. Did they copy and paste from the clipboard? Perhaps they're taking the survey in a language that they don't speak using Google Translate. Or they copy the question text and put it into the response box because they know that there's a character minimum. Professional respondents are pretty savvy. Click farms and bots are as well. We can help prevent all of this for you. And so either done in real time as a qualifying question up front, or as a download at the end of a study, we can help you clean your data and provide you with respondents that you know are going to provide great respondents. If you use this as a open-ended response check in your screening questions, you know that someone that provides a bad response at question number 3 is going to give you a really bad response in an open-ended question number 33 or 43. We'll help you give you better data. And so let me show you what that looks like. I'm going a little bit deeper here. Whoops. This is our demo. Okay? Don't judge us on our design, but we've put a very vanilla UI on top of our text analytics tool. Okay? So we'll pretend that this is any sort of open-ended response. And to this, I'll say over the Over the weekend, I went out for a boat ride with my family. Standard open-ended response. Before I go away, I'm just going to copy what I typed. I'm going to click submit. And what you're going to see here is that our tool has detected that my response was English and that the score is a 0.01. Now, what I'll say is in our world, the lower the score, the better, because as the score gets bigger, it's a higher likelihood of fraud. So my response is in English, and it's pretty darn sure that it's English. There's no profanity. I didn't copy and paste anything. It wasn't similar to any other response. And yes, I was on the page for quite some time as I was waiting to get to this point of the presentation. It took me 35 seconds to type out my response. My composite score is 0. The rest of these are 0 to 1. My composite score goes up 0 to 100. Okay, this is a great response and as scored, and you will probably let this through. If you're curious as to what this will look like for your survey platform, this is what you got. So this is the JSON response that we would return to, let's say, Alchemy or confirm it. And you can make your determinations there. Okay. Now let me go back. I talk about gibberish hanging on the keyboard. And when I click submit, it's now an unknown language. And it's pretty sure it's an unknown language. So 0 to 1, that 1 is bad. Composite score is that perfect bad 100. And it only took me 4.2 seconds to type out that response. So you can set traps along those ways or determinations that anything under 5 seconds or 10 seconds to respond is a bad response. We give you all sorts of tools to allow you to take control over the response. If I go back and paste in what I had typed before, and I click submit, again, we're back to English. Still, I didn't drop any F-bombs, but it now is telling you that the response was pasted. And it's similar, remember 0 to 1, it's similar to a previous response. I was only on the page for 3 seconds and it only took me 2.4 seconds to respond, and there's my perfect composite score of 100, knowing that it's bad. If I go back and do the same thing, you know, I like to be on the water. What you'll see here is that my pasted response is only 65%. It is still similar to a previous response, but my composite score went down to 0. Because in my demo, we have 90% set as our flag. Our clients can choose whatever flag they want. For the sake of the demonstration, we like to keep it up high because I can show you that all I have to do is go back, do the same paste, and type in something silly like that. And now that I'm over 90%, oh, that's even better. You know, it goes back to 100 as a composite score. And so what kind of output do you get from that? Let's go back and take a look. And so I have a data set here that from a client that allowed us to use it. Nothing that can be understood to be of any one particular client. It was a set of screening questions. And I hope no one is offended because there is some salty language in here. This data set has over 1,400 rows. Think about at the end of a study how long it would take to go through 1,400 rows to clean out the data before you get to the point where you get to do the analysis. It could take you hours. And that's probably not a job that's going to keep someone engaged in your company all that long. Now let me show you how quickly we can go through this. Okay, I'm done. If you trust the machine, I sorted from top to bottom, worst to best. These are all the ones that you don't want to pay for. These are all of the bad responses. These are real responses from real respondents. So again, I apologize for the salty language. Nothing any of us haven't seen before working in the industry that we work in. And so as I go lower, some of these scores are high because they're short. Tell me about your favorite pet and why. Well, or favorite animal and why. So a lot of people said dog, and you're going to come up with some similar scores, and but they didn't do the and why. But you could set a shorter threshold on that question if you're expecting a shorter answer. But as I get to the bottom of my data set, you see that the answers start getting longer. They become a much better response, and even longer. So you're seeing a lot of cat lovers here. Let's go find a dog. But again, we catch more than just the quality of the response. You want to find all those that are similar. So now I've found all of the ones that are similar, even if they weren't caught on the others. And in this data set, I will say that the client didn't use the similarity text as a trigger for the composite score, which again is their choice. But you could still go in and find out that someone said, my favorite pets is a dog. This is the best friend to men. Pretty sure that person doesn't speak English. And so we're going to flag that because that same person did that response on May 3rd at 8:58 p.m., at 10:36 p.m., and 11:16 p.m. We're going to catch that every time when there's similarity. Some things are understandable, but when someone copies and pastes family, love, and happiness over and over again, I'm going to guess that the rest of their data in your data set is going to be suspect that they contributed. We will help you clean out. This would change the composite score if you so choose. I left it out because I wanted you to see that you get to determine what you want to have affect your composite score. That's our review product, okay? So let's go back to the presentation. We have two last products, and these are for typically people that build panels or sell panels. Our Verify tool, very simple tool. Using outside databases, we can validate emails as people sign up for your panel. So we're going to prevent fraud from ever starting in many cases, because we're going to make sure that the domain is active. Sorry, the email address is active, and that the domain is accepting emails. Is this valid? Has any other company flagged this email address for fraud? We're going to help remove or prevent fake or just evil respondents from ever joining your panels. And lastly is our pre-do product. This is really only used by those that sell sample. What we do here is we're going to prevent duplication on the sell side. So if you're a sample seller or reseller, we can make you much more efficient. We're going to raise your earnings per click and your return on investment, because we're going to prevent you from sending someone to a survey that they've already seen before. If they've been exposed to it through a marketplace, through some other company, we know that they're not going to qualify for it from you. And so therefore, we can help you determine where they can go best for something they have not seen already. And so going forward, these people will be much more efficient. You'll pay less in consolation incentives. And the number one reason that people leave panels is because they never qualify. Well, they won't leave yours because you have prevented them from being wasted upon something that they'd already been exposed to. And so what I always say to our clients is that if you want to try any product or all of the products, 30 days on us. No cost, no contract. Please let us know how we can help you increase the quality of your data, and we'll be happy to do so. Thanks for your time. I really appreciate it. If there's any other questions, I'll be happy to respond. Thank you.